Dala Thongwa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Darba Dan Tam Je Gembe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tam Je Ge Su Jebe Ma Nong Ka Dan Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Tunga Dan De Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Tabara Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Je Topara Cha Dala Thongwa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dang Tam Che Gembe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tam Che Ge Sa Jebe Ma Nang Ka Dang Nyampe Senchen Tam Che Dewa Dan Ten Tung Yao Dan De Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Dabra Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Che Topra Cha Dala Thongwa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarpa Dan Tam Je Gembe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tam Je Ge Sa Jebe Ma Nang Ka Dang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dan Ten Tung Yao Dan De Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Dabra Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Che Topra Cha Dala Thongwa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarpa Dan Tam Je Gembe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tam Je Ge Sa Jebe Ma Nang Ka Dang Nyampe Senchen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Tunga Dan De Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Dabra Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Je Topra Jai De Je De Sama Ge Ge Bardu Lunga Yisum Ge Wala Go Mashi Bardu Lunga Yisum Ge Wala Go Du Tering Ne Sun Te Ne Ma Sam Tha Sam Ge Bardu Lunga Yisum Ge Wala Go. Now to the fourth session, Guru Yoga text. Starting on page 1. Manang Khadan Nyampe Senchen Tamche Lama Sanje Rinpo Jela Kyamsu Jiwo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debzo Lama Oseo Choki Gola Kyamsu Jiwo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debzo Lama Longchu Sobe Gola Kyamsu Jiwo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debzo Lama Tuje Chube Kula So Kyabzo Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Kushi Dhani Lama La Kyabzo Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tamche Lama Sanje Rinpo Jela Kyabsu Jiva Choje Sanje Drove Guna Sowa Debso Lama Oseo Choki Kula Kyabsu Jiva Choje Sanje Drove Guna Sowa Debso Lama Loncho Sobe Kula Kyabsu Jiva Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Lama Tuje Chube Kula So Kyabso Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Kushi Dhani Lama La Kyabso Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tamche Lama Sanje Rinpo Jela Kyabsu Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Lama Oseo Choki Kula Kyabsu Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Lama Loncho Sobe Kula Kyabsu Jivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Lama Tuje Tube Kula So Kyabsu Chivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Debso Kushi Dani Lama La Kyabsu Chivo Choje Sanje Drove Gonla so so. Just to point out some vocabulary so that whenever you find yourself in a group practice where it is done in Tibetan, you have some ideas as to what is going on. I certainly cannot teach Tibetan, and I can only also, which is my point here is that I was never formally, I never formally learned Tibetan, so whatever Tibetan I know, it comes from doing the practice and having curiosity about these sounds. So that now, after enough number of years, I'm able to cause some trouble when it comes to translations, to look at translations and to see, inconsistencies, or to see how beautiful a translation is, and, to try to add it and fix things. So you too, if you have that kind of curiosity, that kind of patience, over time, you can absorb, these vocabulary, and then, in time kind of figure out. That's also how I acquired my classical Buddhist Chinese, which is rather different from modern Chinese. Classical Buddhist Chinese, that I acquired it enough, to write my doctoral dissertation on classical Chinese Buddhist, based on classical Chinese Buddhist texts, looking at these ancient texts and writing a doctoral dissertation on it. Also, I never formally studied classical Chinese at the point when I started graduate training. Of course, in graduate school, I was trained to more carefully read classical Chinese Buddhist texts, but I came without any real formal learning in classical Buddhist Chinese, except for doing the practice chanting the texts. You chant the texts, you chant them enough times, chant them with curiosity, chant them with interest in knowing, more directly what it is saying. It can help. And especially those of you who feel that you are young enough to learn Tibetan more formally. Feel is the point. If you feel that you are young enough to learn Tibetan more formally, it's not a bad idea to pick up some facility, at least the ability to read and make those sounds, Anyway, if you look at the first line, Manam Kadang Nyampe Senjen Tamjela, Tamje Lama Sanje Rinpoche Kyapsu Chiwo. Kyapsu Chiwo is what we translate as, I take refuge. More literally, it's like, please protect me. Kyapsu Chiwo. So please, please, I take refuge in you. Or please, you please protect me. Kyap is to protect. Then, so that's Kyapsu Chiwo. So, but in Buddhist English, we have automatically translated it into take refuge, which itself is kind of an odd expression, maybe outdated, these days, not outside the context of Buddhism, seems a little archaic. So that's the Kyapsu Chiwo. Then in the next line, so in the generally Tibetan sentence construction, the verb is at the end of the sentence. So all the all the nouns, pronouns, adjectives, all of that happen before, and then the verb is at the end. I know you kind of look and you see, oh, this person is involved, this thing is involved, this place is involved, and then at the end you come to like, and this is what's happening. Yeah, different from English or Chinese. So it's like all these other information is given first, and then at the end you're like, that's what's going on there. So the next sentence, Joje Sanje Drove Gonla Sowa Depso. Sowa Dep is to pray, to supplicate, to pray, to supplicate. I supplicate you, I pray to you. Sowa Dep. So you see this repeated, in the next line again, Kyapsuchio, then the next line, Sowa Depso, then the next line, Kyapsuchio, then Sowa Depso, Kyapsuchio, Sowa Depso, Kyapsuchio, Sowa Depso. So four times this formula is repeated. Each kaya, right? This is paying homage to taking refuge in the 4 kayas. The DHARMAKAYA, the SAMBHOGAKAYA, the NIRMANAKAYA, and the 4th, the SVABHAVIKAKAYA. So so 5 times, sorry. Yeah. So 5 times this is repeated because the first one is just the overall taking refuge and supplicating the Dharma Lord, the precious Guru Buddha. So here, what's translated as precious Guru Buddha is, if you go up to the second line, Sanje Rinpoche. So the precious, so Lama Sanje Rinpoche, at the end of the first line, La, and then beginning of the second line, Ma, Lama Sanje Rinpoche. Lama Sanje Rinpoche la, Gyapso Chio. I take refuge in who? I take refuge in the Lama Sanje Rinpoche. Rinpoche is precious. Rinpoche is precious. Sanje is Buddha, Lama, Guru. So the precious Buddha, who is our Guru. So the precious Buddha, who is our Guru. Again and again, I want to emphasize here. Don't think of the Guru as some person. Culturally, historically, there were different periods that I think thinking of an individual as the Guru with a capital G has been helpful, skillful. Personally, if you ask me, in this day and time, is it helpful, skillful, necessarily? It's a big question mark. I'll leave that question mark to you. If you have been attending my teachings long enough, you'll know that this is not a surprise, that I'm saying this. As I've said again and again, my closest teachers themselves have always deflected this focus away from them when capital G Guru comes in the picture. And they've always deflected it to Buddha Sakyamuni, Milarepa, Jikten Sumgon. Now, I know some people will even say this is a cop-out. Some people, they won't explicitly say this person or that person is not giving students the full weight, of the tradition. But I don't think they are doing this as a cop-out. They are interpreting the material in a way that is more skillful and appropriate for most of us. Yeah, it's not a cop-out. They know what the challenges are, and they know from their own experience how better to proceed. And so here we have one version of how to think of Guru as Buddha. How to think of Guru as Buddha here is turn around. How to think of Buddha as Guru. Yeah, how to think of Buddha as Guru. As for your human teachers, I pray that you are able to meet, human teachers who can support you, nourish you, and guide you, and have the guts to guide you away from sometimes some of the traps, some of the things that are going on. Not easy. But we also need to know how to learn, and that all takes time. So basically, don't rush any of these things. So these 4 kayas. So then the Buddha as our guru. Then the Buddha, we know that Buddha has 4 kayas. In general Mahayana, they talk about the 3 kayas. So Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. In Vajrayana material, there is a 4th kaya called Svabhavikakaya, which is, so now page 2. We take refuge at the bottom of page 2. We take refuge in you, Guru, the actuality of the 4 kayas. Here, I think, upon many sessions of practice, I think here it could easily be translated, and maybe even more accurately translated, as the actuality of the 4th kaya. Translating it as 4 kayas is not wrong, but I think maybe the 4th kaya, the actuality of the 4th kaya. So the 4th kaya then is referring to the Svabhavikakaya. Svabhavikakaya is called the 4th kaya. And when you look at the definition of Svabhavikakaya, Svabhavika is like self-nature. Swa is like self, by itself, self, in that sense, self. Not necessarily the self, divine self, but in expressions like by itself, then we say swa, meaning it has a sense of like automatic, something that is automatic, something that happens by itself. This Sanskrit word swa is somewhere in there. Swabhava, nature, being, self-being, swabhava. So Svabhavikakaya is often translated as the natural body, awakened body. So what is this natural body? Svabhavikakaya is often defined as the 3 kayas inseparable. So this is a pattern in Vajrayana. I remember many years ago, this eccentric professor that I had in London, a Russian guy, he would say, Buddhists have the habit of 3 plus 1. They'll start with 3, and somewhere along the way, they cannot resist adding 1. So you have the 3 jewels, then along comes Vajrayana, the 4th, Guru. Then you have the 3 kayas, then Vajrayana comes along, then you have the 4th kaya, the Svabhavikakaya. So he says this, he's probably he was probably exaggerating, but you do see this pattern So in the same way that then the guru is said to be, the three jewels unified, right? It's the mind of the guru is Buddha, the speech of the guru is Dharma, the actions of the guru is Sangha. So in the same way, Svabhavikakaya is the three kayas inseparable. So the Dharmakaya is clear like Dharmakaya. Sambhogakaya is perfect Sambhogakaya. Nirmanakaya is compassionate Nirmanakaya. So what can we learn from these qualifiers? Clear like Dharmakaya, clear and light here has the connotation of empty and appearing, without essence, without substance, without fixity. That's the main defining characteristic of Dharmakaya. Perfect here, I think sometimes we think of it in terms of like, oh, perfect person, can do no wrong, infallible, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe there's some connotations like that. But the more important connotation of perfect when we speak of Sambhogakaya, we're talking about the presence of the Buddha qualities. So the Sambhogakaya form is a form body, part of, a form body, meaning visible to the eye. Sometimes by eye, we don't just mean the physical eye. There's also this notion of the divine eye, which we don't have. Well, most of us don't have. We can only see, ordinary sights. But Sambhogakaya are these like very subtle, refined forms that only people with very subtle perception, power of perception can see. But the Sambhogakayas are said to literally is the enjoyment body. So what is it that Buddhas enjoy embodying, right? The enjoyment body. What they enjoy are the Buddha qualities: truthfulness, compassion, loving kindness, patience, the six perfections. So those are, so the Sambhogakayas are perfect in that way. Compassionate Nirmanakaya then emphasizes those qualities that then appearing at a level that is appropriate and helpful to us. So this links back to how I said, my main teachers, when they talk about Guru, when they address the issue of Guru, they always deflect towards Sakyamuni, towards Kyopa Jikten Sumgon, Milarepa, Gampopa. That it's not a cop-out, it's knowing and recognizing what is most appropriate and helpful to most people most of the time. In the times that we live in the context that we live in. So that's the activity of Nirmanakaya. We can understand it like that. Nirmanakayas are the qualifier here, compassionate. Compassionate means these Nirmanakayas meet people, meet sentient beings where sentient beings are. No matter how profound your level of attainment is, if you're not able to meet sentient beings where they are, then you cannot benefit beings. Even maybe inadvertently causing harm. So the Nirmanakaya quality is that quality of being able to meet sentient beings where they are, to be most helpful. Helpful for what? Helpful for their getting out of samsara, you know. And so then the fourth kaya, the actuality here also can be translated as the embodiment, or the fourth kaya in person. That's more literally what it here means. You know, the Guru, the Buddha, who is the fourth kaya in person. Then we supplicate you, Dharma Lord, protector of wandering beings. Manam kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyudan dempar gyurje dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudang drawa gyurje dungyao mepe dewa dang me drawa niring chadang nidang drawe tang nyam la nepar gyurje manam kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyudan dempar gyurje Dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudang drawa gyurje dungyao mepe dewa dang me drawa gyurje niring chadang nidang dangyong la nebra gyurje manang kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyudang dembara gyurje dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudang drawa gyurje dungyao mepe dewa dang me drawa gyurje Niring chadang nidang dewe tangyong la nepara gyurje. So here, so at the top of page 3, ma is mother, namka is space. Namka is space, also space as in space, and also sky. Sky and space, same word in Tibetan, namka. Then sentient beings is semchen. What we translate as sentient beings is semchen. Tamche is all. Tamche is all. Semchen. Semchen is literally semchen. Is chen is to possess, sem is mind. Those who possess mind. Things that possess mind, things that have mind, things that have consciousness, they are sentient beings. So semchen. Dewa is happiness. Sometimes also translated as bliss. Sukha. In Sanskrit, sukha, dewa. Sukha is the opposite of dukkha. Dukkha is suffering. Sukha is happiness. So Amitabha's land, Sukhavati, we say the realm of bliss, also the realm of happiness. So McDonald's have sukha meals, you know, happy meals, sukha meals. Yeah. Then in Indonesian, Malaysian, we also use the word sukha, which is to like, you know, to like. And dukkha, also in Malay, is to suffer. So dukkha. So here dewa. Then opposite of dewa is dugnyao. Second line in the phonetics, second line, duk. At the end of second line, duk and nyao, dugnyao. So dugnyao is dukkha. Duk, dukkha, dugnyao. Dugnyao. So dugnyao dang dugnyao gi gyu. So dugnyao, right? You see that? Dugnyao dang dugnyao gi gyu. Right? So dang is and. So Duk Ngheo and Duk Ngheo Gi Gyu. The Gi in here, Gi is the possessive. So so in English we would say apostrophe. Duk Ngheo apostrophe Gyu. Gyu is what? Root. Root as in cause. So Duk Ngheo Gi Gyu, cause of suffering. Causes of suffering. So if you go up, back up, Dewa Dang. Dewe Gyu. Dewe Gyu. Again, causes of Dewa. Dewe. Dewe Gyu. Causes of happiness. Manam Kadang Nyampe Semchen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Gyu. Then Dung Ngheo Dang Dung Ngheo Gi Gyu. Then further down, Dung Ngheo Mepe Dewa. Dung Ngheo Mepe Dewa, right? The third, which is referring to joy, mudita. Dung Ngheo Mepe Dewa. Literally, Dewa that is absent of Dung Ngheo. Mepe. Me is no. So me is no. Me. No. Common in conversation. Me. Like eat more. Me. Important word to learn. They're always trying to feed you. Me. Second last line for the phonetics on page 3. Nearing chak dang, right? Chak and dang. You see? Yeah, chak and dang. Dang is aversion. Chak is attachment. Chak dang. So this dang is different from the end. It's spelled differently, even though the sounds are the same. Chadang. Chadang ni. Chadang ni is like the pair. Ni is literally two. Chadang ni is talking about that pair. That pair of attachment and aversion. Because they keep each other alive, To have attachment is to have aversion, They are like the form and the shadow. Sometimes one is the form and the other is the shadow. They keep each other company. So the twins, these twins, chadang. Some of us, are more. Our issue is more related to, attachment. But don't think you don't have aversion. That means aversion is the shadow. And some of us are more like, quick to anger, aversion. Don't think you don't have attachment. Attachment is the shadow. Chadang. Chadang ni. Okay. Page 4. In the state of emptiness, the non-referential nature of all phenomena, on the seat of lotus, sun, moon, and corpse, one's mind as a brilliant red bomb turns into Vajra Yogini, red complexion, radiating with empty bliss, wrathful in demeanor, with three eyes gazing towards the sky. Right hand with a Gatri, left holding a blood-filled Kapala. Her mouth is slightly open, tongue curled back and making the sound pim, and protruding from the right of her face is face of a black sow. She is in the form of a 16-year-old with breasts swelling with bliss and adorned with 5 born ornaments and wearing garlands of flowers and heads joyfully. Her right hand holds aloft a Vajrakatri pointing towards the sky, and her left holds a blood-filled Kapala directly in front, center, and held under her arm is glorious Heruka in the form of a Katanga, left leg standing upright and right bent, arisen within swelling red lights of empty bliss. So now creation of self as Vajravarahi, then creation in front is the Guru Yoga field of refuge. Then above her head, in an expanse of 5-colored rainbow lights, on a jewel throne supported by lions, elephants, horses, peacocks, and garudas, in the center, just free from the faults of samsara, and on the sun and moon that eliminate the sufferings of cold and heat, the exalted mind of sovereign, with the 7 attributes, the totality of the exalted speech, of the dharma of emptiness, of the perfection of wisdom, the exalted body of the perfect Buddhas possessing the 10 powers, Jikten Sumgon, embodiment of the 3 jewels, Lord of the teachings, victorious Rinchen, pale presence of the Dharmakaya, to those trainable SAMBHOGAKAYA, blazing with the splendor of the major and minor marks, and NIRMANAKAYA, glowing with reddish white light. Lord of the teachings, wearing the 3 dharma robes, a sleeveless shirt with the 7 noble riches, a meditation hat symbolizing ceaseless empowerment. Complete 9 vehicles, right hand subduing the hordes of Maras by touching the ground, left in the mudra of the samadhi of immovable meditative equipoise. He sits in the Vajra posture, free from the extremes of samsara and nirvana. To his right and left are thrones, and on seats of lotus and moon are Avalokita in person, the Bodhisattva himself, Gonchoratna, dressed as a bhikshu, holding a crystal mala and a stalk of lotus. With his 2 hands to the left is Jokidrakpa in the form of a bhikshu with the 3 robes. Manjushri Saraha in person, holding a vajra and bell and attacks and sword on lotuses. Both of them are wearing the meditation hat, symbolizing changelessness. They are like reflections of the one moon, dancing on many waters. They are accompanied by the 85 accomplished masters of India and by an ocean of Kagyusiddhas of Tibet, gathered in the main and intermediate directions like immeasurable clouds. With Ja, the hook of faith draws in the wisdom beings from the expanse with whom they arrive as the support of joy and kindness for wandering beings. With Bum they abide as the joy of limitless compassion. With Ho they move with the smiling demeanor, taming and caring for wandering beings. With compassion, please stay here with delight for the sake of wandering beings. So far, we have already looked at the section for the self-creation as Vajravarahi, right? And the symbolism that is involved there. Then, as well as, rather important, rather important, right? The relationship between this emptiness and the appearance of the deity from this emptiness and what that means, right? Then Judy, said, probably speaking for all of us, oh, this non-referential state, this emptiness. What am I supposed to think, I don't really get what that is. Of course, we won't really get what that is, But then I recommend that, if you want to learn more, this one book, right? Like Kempo Sutram Gyamso. It's helpful. Also to say, there are many books, on the topic of shunyata, on emptiness. And why I chose, that book by Kempo Sutram Gyamso is because while there are many books, there are many translations, there are many transcripts of teachings on this topic of shunyata or emptiness. There's no end, for us to learn all the various aspects of this topic, this very big topic. And this topic is also probably the most, all of Tibetan Buddhists, I would say, debate, like formal debates. They're all debating this topic. They don't debate, the topics in Vajrayana, because in a way, like there's nothing to debate there. It's different kind of assumptions, different relationship, to Vajrayana material. What animates, the Tibetan world when it comes to debate, famously you've seen, right, either photos or video clips of monks, doing this, in the courtyard, and they're being pulled back, because they get so excited. It's almost like, sometimes these debates can get to that point, like they almost are going to punch, and then you have to pull them aside, pull them apart. It gets very animated. So the intellectual energy of Tibetan, of an elite, by no means, right, this debate is what everybody gets involved in. Really, they are like the intellectual giants, or want to be giants, of the Tibetan monastic education system, and so they debate. And when they debate, no matter what they debate, they're basically debating on this topic of emptiness. So there's a lot of books that have been translated and essays have been written about that kind of learning about emptiness and what emptiness is or is not. And those of you on Facebook might have seen, like a couple of days ago or yesterday, I posted a book, cover of a book, and my caption for that is a headache worth having. But I want to say, is headache worth having for me? Maybe not for most of you. Don't introduce headaches into your life. That book is about debates. And it's like, gosh. So I read these things, when I feel like I'm getting lazy, because it's easy to kind of get a little lazy if you go more the early, I want to say early, not even later, early Kagyupa style of practicing. And emptiness can lead to certain kinds of laziness. But the book that I suggested to Judy and to the rest of you, that if you want to, have at least some better reference point, some better understanding of this topic of emptiness, one of the places you can go learn about is that book. I already forgot the title. What is it? Rays of...
The Sun of Wisdom.
The Sun of Wisdom. Yeah, I can see the cover very clearly in my mind. And I remember my graduate advisor would always like yell at us when we said, well, I know the cover. He was like, what if they republish the book and it's a different cover now? And the Sun of Wisdom. So that one is basically Khenpo Sujin Gyamso, going through Nagarjuna's root text on emptiness, known as the Madhyamaka Karika, verses to the center, verses to the middle. Verses to the middle, the root text is very dense. It's Nagarjuna's masterpiece, masterwork. So Khenpo Sujin Gyamso is a Kagyupa Lama, now quite old, I think mostly bedridden. But Khenpo Sujin Gyamso's way of teaching emptiness is very much like the early Kagyupas. He was schooled in the ins and outs of debate, but he doesn't lean so strongly in that direction. But his way, especially those transcripts found in that book, I think is very helpful. Yeah. So please, it's good to enhance your practice, to know a little bit about this topic, and then to bring it into this practice. So then here it says, then above her head in the expanse of 5 colored rainbow lights. You're like, wait, rainbows have more than 5 colors. Yes. So here rainbow means like illusory, temporarily appearing without substance. So don't go, wait a minute. Tibetan rainbows have only 5 colors? So in an expanse of 5 colored rainbow lights on a jewel throne, so this is in front of you. So when it says above her head, it means like it's higher than your head, right? Also, just to say here, some decision has to be made when translating such material, because in the Tibetan, the subject and the pronouns are often not necessary, and also no pronouns, no gendered pronouns, generally speaking, in Tibetan. So that's one thing. So then how we, then since in English you need pronouns, how do you do that is one thing. And then so also, here the subject, often in Tibetan also not there. And then you have to provide a subject when you turn this into English. So sometimes in sadhanas, it's like, it's I, right? Then above my head in an expanse of 5 colored rainbow lights. Yeah, right? So even in the Varahi section, like on page 5, at the top of page 5, we could also easily translate it as, I am in the form of a 16-year-old with breast swelling with bliss, la la la. Joyfully, my right hand holds aloft a Vajrakatri pointing towards the sky, so on and so forth. But in this translation, we have made the decision to use she, her, right? Well, obviously the pronoun here would be female. Vajravarahi, normally conceived, is female. But I also say don't get too carried away by, she's female. Because this is not ordinary female, like she has a sow face, sticking, growing out from the right. If you were to meet a human female walking down the street like that, I think you would run. So she's not ordinary. She's extraordinary, if not a little shocking. So here we have chosen her based on the understanding that a lot of these even though in this sadhana this section has been versified, for ease of chanting, like in the Tibetan, 9 syllables, 9 syllables, 9 syllables. Sometimes 7, sometimes 11, sometimes even 13, but very common between 7 and 9 syllables. So this section has been versified for ease of chanting. But in many of the early Indian sadhanas, this section often not versified, because essentially they are notes. They are notes or they are instructions given to the practitioner. So we have chosen to translate this section so that the subject is second person. Do we say the second person? Third person? Yeah. Trent, what are all the persons involved? When do we say first person, second person, and third person?
First person is I and we. Second person is you. Third person is he, she, it.
Ah, okay.
They. Yeah.
They, right. So we've chosen this, the third person, trying to emphasize that these are instructions given. That, because it's referring to she as in, the one that you are visualizing on, the one that you're working on, like transforming, becoming. So almost like you're sitting next to someone instructing you, and then she is like this, then she is like this, then she looks like this, then in front of her you will see this and this and this and this. Yeah, so that's sort of what has informed the choice made here. Yeah. So anyway, on a precious throne supported by lions, elephants, horses, peacocks, and garudas, in the center of a lotus free from the faults of samsara, and on the sun and moon that eliminate the sufferings of cold and heat. And so you remember, this sun and moon. Sun is wisdom, moon is skillful means, compassion. And they eliminate the sufferings of cold and heat. The exalted mind of sovereign Vajradhara. So here, is describing Jikten Sumgon, the main guru figure in the space in front of us. So Jikten Sumgon, so if you go further down first, he's the embodiment of the three jewels. As we've said, his mind is Buddha, his speech is Dharma, his body is Sangha. He's the Lord of the teachings. He's the victorious. Victorious here is an epithet of the Buddha, Gyawa. In Sanskrit is Jina. The hero, the one who has overcome the enemies that are afflictive emotions. So here, first of all, is said that he is the exalted mind, or he has the exalted mind of Vajradhara. Then Vajradhara has 7 qualities. That's a big topic. We're not going to cover that topic right now. Just know that, Vajradhara is said to have 7 distinctive qualities. You can look up for the list, but the list usually they don't explain. If you want to look up good definitions of these terms, Rigpa Wiki, not Wikipedia, but Rigpa Wiki, RIGPA Wiki. Rigpa Wiki is a good source for these definitions. So the mind of Jikten Sumgon is the sovereign. Sovereign here, complete freedom, Vajradhara. Then the speech is the totality of the exalted speech of the Dharma of emptiness, of the perfection of wisdom. Pragya Paramita, perfection of wisdom. Then there's exalted body. He is the exalted body of the perfect Buddhas, possessing the 10 powers. Again, you can look up what these 10 powers are. So it's Jikten Sumgon, embodiment of the 3 jewels. Then in the next section, he is the presence of the Dharmakaya, pleasing to those trainable. SAMBHOGAKAYA, blazing with the splendor of the major and minor marks, and NIRMANAKAYA, glowing with reddish white light. So again, to emphasize, Kyopa Jikten Sumgon has the 3 kayas. Now, a little bit more description. Lord of the teachings. He wears the 3 Dharma robes. These are the robes of a fully ordained monk. The lower robe, the upper robe, and the outer robe. The outer robe is the yellow with patches. That's the of a monk. And also a nun also has these 3 Dharma robes. The lower robe, the upper robe, and then the outer robe. Then sleeveless shirt. So this is an accommodation made for the cold weather of Tibet. So in the original Indian style Buddhist robes, there isn't this sleeveless shirt. It's like a blouse with no sleeve. So this is symbolizing the 7 noble riches. So lots of lists here. Again, you can look up, 7 noble riches. And then this special meditation hat, this dragon kind of big fan hat. And that's called the gomsha, meditation hat, gomsha. I don't exactly know, why or the origins of this name. It's a special name to call it gomsha. Other lineages and traditions, they have hats. They don't call their hats gomsha. Also, kind of interestingly, this is not a hat that you wear when you're meditating. That's why, I'm not sure why it's called a gomsha. Gom is meditation or cultivation. Sha is hat. Gomsha. But you don't wear it when you're meditating. But nonetheless, it's called the meditation hat. But here it tells us, never mind, exactly why it's called a gomsha. It symbolizes ceaseless empowerment. That means, the Guru Kyopa Jikten Sumgon is continuously giving us the empowerment. And the purpose of empowerment is to ripen our potential. So sometimes we get carried away. We think empowerment is some kind of mystical experience, but it's to ripen us, to cause us to mature. Mature in what? Mature in our understanding. Understanding that leads to relinquishing suffering and the causes of suffering. Yeah. Then specifically empowerment, the first of the 4 empowerments is the vase empowerment. The vase empowerment is the empowerment that introduces to us the primordial, pristine nature of this body and mind. How our true body and mind is without stains. Therefore, empty. Empty and therefore without stains and therefore empty. And that this primordial body and mind is what manifests as the palace and the deities within this palace, called the divine mandala. And so all these paintings of, whether it's a Tanka painting where there's a Buddha in the center with surrounding, attendant deities, all of that, that's the mandala, with or without paintings of a palace. When you look at a painting of a Tanka, where there's a central deity and then surrounding deities, you should know that actually there's also a building, a palatial building, that's not included in the painting usually, but that's the mandala. And the building is our inanimate body, and the deities that live in the building is qualities of our mind. So the vase empowerment in particular is to introduce us to this nature. How our body is the divine palace and our various aspects of mind are the deities. A golden skirt, so underneath the lower robe, again, a certain there is an undergarments actually. It's this golden colored skirt, and that represents having the 9 vehicles. The 9 vehicles is a way of organizing the Buddha's teachings into 9 distinctive levels of vehicles. More commonly, you have heard of the 3 vehicles, right? The Hinayana, the Mahayana, the Vajrayana, yanas, vehicles. 9 vehicles is expanding on that from a Vajrayana perspective. So how it becomes 9 is it begins with the vehicle of humans. So that means, like the Buddhas have given dharma that is appropriate for those who want to live and maintain a good human existence, not only among themselves, but among each other. So you could say that all the quote unquote like secular ideas and philosophies and like humanism, all of that are in a way the vehicle of humans. It's teaching us, how to have and build good human communities and society. So that's the vehicle of humans. And then there's the vehicle of the gods. So this is one level more. So now we're looking towards not just this life, but next life. That it's not only that we learn how to have a good life here, but also that which is good for next life. So those are the teachings of the vehicle of the gods. Then the third one is the classic personal liberation vehicle, the so-called Hinayana, personal liberation vehicle. Then there is the, and that, the personal liberation is divided into 2 actually. So one is the vehicle of the hearers, then there is the vehicle of the solitary Buddhas. And so they divide that, normally just lumped together as Hinayana, but now divided into the hearer vehicle and the solitary realizer vehicle and the general bodhisattva vehicle. So now we're at what, 6, correct? So the general bodhisattva vehicle is the vehicle without any explicit Vajrayana teachings yet. Then 7, 8, 9 is the Vajrayana, divided into Mahayoga, Anuyoga, Ati Yoga. So this system of the 9 vehicles, it's often associated with Nyingma traditions, but not exclusively, not exclusively, but often associated with the Nyingma. Now that I'm telling you about the 9 vehicles and listing them out, I could be a little wrong. But the general idea, I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's basically the 3 vehicles being divided, and then there's the vehicle of the gods. But now that I start counting, I think maybe the vehicle of gods and humans are considered one. And then Pratyeka Buddha and Arhats might be one. Yeah, so if we count those as 1, 1, and 1, 1, then general bodhisattva 3. Oh, yeah. That's how you count at 9. Sorry. Because there are ways of counting that I just gave you, but that's very like obscure text, and somehow I remembered that. But if you count gods and humans as 1, solitary realizers and hearers as 1, then general bodhisattva vehicle without Vajrayana as 1. That's 3. Then the next 3 are what's known as action tantra vehicle, performance tantra vehicle, and third one, yoga tantra. Then those are 3, right? Then you have 6. Then 7, 8, 9, you have under the highest yoga tantra is divided into what's known as Maha Yoga, Anu Yoga, and Ati Yoga. So that's 9. Okay, that's the mainstream explanation of the 9. The first one that I gave you, in some obscure text I've read it, somehow that stuck in my mind. Yes, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. So 9 vehicles. So meaning, he embodies the whole range of the teachings that are helpful to sentient beings. Right hand subduing the hordes of Maras by touching the ground, and left in the mudra of meditative equipoise. So this mudra, in particular, touching the ground and meditating, this is said to be the posture that Buddha Sakyamuni was in at the moment where he broke through all delusions and became Buddha. So Jikten Sumgon is seated in this way. Now, as a minor point, I came across, art historians, people who study these things, pointing out that in the context of the 10th, 11th, 12th century, that means during Kyoba Jikten Sumgon's time, certainly people were making images, statues of great lamas, of which he was one of them. But during that time, most images, most statues or paintings of great lamas do not depict them seated in this manner. Left hand like this, right hand touching the ground. They avoid depicting lamas in that manner. Jikten Sumgon is one exception. Like already in the earliest, older statues and paintings that we can find, he was already being depicted as Buddha-like. So this must have caused some gossip, sound bites among the people alive then, like, oh, these people, how dare they, make statues of their lama in that form, But I think this goes to show, that for Kyoba Rinpoche's students, they quite literally believed that he was a Buddha. Now, you don't have to, I'm not forcing you to believe that, just pointing out that actually is quite a unique and daring statement that, they represent Kyoba Jikten Sumgon in this way. And so anyway, he sits in the Vajra posture, which is what we call full lotus position, free from the extremes of samsara and nirvana. And so that's the meaning of the Vajra, the full lotus, where the leg, right leg is placed, right foot, in fact, is placed on the left thigh, and left foot is placed on the right thigh, right? And this symbolizes, neither kind of disappearing into nirvana, so to say, or getting stuck in samsara. completely free from these extremes. Then to his right and left are the two other figures in this visualization. The three main figures, often here called the Father and the Sons. And so to the right and left are thrones as well. And then they have seats of lotus and moon. So slightly different from Jikten Sumgon. Jikten Sumgon has sun and moon. They only moon cushions. Typical of like Tibetan culture, maintaining a certain hierarchy is important. Yeah? There is a place, and there is a skill that can be involved in having proper hierarchy. The way we say how, boundaries are good, of course, when hierarchy turns into something that just oppresses, what's down in the hierarchy, then it's become rotten, becomes useless. But, when done, in a skillful way, that facilitates, a receptive mind. So here, lotus and moon on both right and left. So starting with to the right of Jikten Sumgon, that is Koncho Ratna. Koncho Ratna lived in the 17th century, and he is the first Gyabgon Chesang Rinpoche. So first he is described, and he is said to be Avalokiteshvara in person, the emanation of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva himself. Here, Bodhisattva actually is referring to the one of the main figures during the first transmission of Buddhism, the early period of transmission of Buddhism to Tibet, which is the Kempo Bodhisattva, they call him, Shantarakshita. Kempo Bodhisattva, common way to refer to this figure, Shantarakshita. So, first Gyabgon Chesang is also considered to be the reincarnation of this Shantarakshita, a great Indian master whom the king, the Dharma king Tresong Detsen, invited to Tibet to teach the Tibetan Buddhism. So Shantarakshita had great success teaching the humans of Tibet, but he was obstructed, his activities were obstructed by the non-human residents of Tibet, which he then said to the king. He said, you need to invite Pemasambhava to come to handle those beings. So that's how then famously Pemasambhava went from India to Tibet. So these three figures, the Dharma king, Tresong Detsen, the Lopan, the Acharya, the Dorje Lopan, Pemasambhava, and the Kempo, the abbot, Shantarakshita. These are called the three that made it possible for the Dharma to be established in Tibet. So Koncho Ratna is said to be the reincarnation of Shantarakshita. So here the Bodhisattva himself is referring to that Bodhisattva. Koncho Ratna is dressed as a bhikshu, as a fully ordained monk. Then he holds a crystal mala and a stalk of lotus. So these are symbols of Avalokiteshvara, right? Remember forearm Avalokiteshvara? like that, and then 2 more arms. Here, Koncharatna only has 2 arms, 2 hands, human form, normal human form. It's not clear, and that means also it's left to painters how to paint this appearance. So I think Jasper shared one painting, and so in that painting, it's also unclear because it's very detailed. But one way of visualizing is you have Koncharatna basically having his hands in this position. This is the position of teaching the Dharma, turning the Dharma wheel. This is called turning the Dharma wheel. And then you say, okay, what about the lotus and the crystal mala? Out of this, right, a lotus stalk comes up, hovers here. Another lotus comes up, hovers here. And on the lotus, on the right side is the mala, and on the left side, it's a lotus. Crystal mala and lotus can be held like this. Or, you could also just visualize crystal mala and holding lotus. Like this. You can decide how you want. To the left is Chukyi Drakpa, the first Kyabgon Chungsang Rinpoche. And historically, these two were brothers. And they were the third and the fourth brother of 4 brothers. So Kyabgon Chungsang Rinpoche, Chukyi Drakpa, also known as Dharmakirti, which is our group, Drigung Dharmakirti, is named after him. There's a more famous, so to say, Dharmakirti, which is the logician, a great Indian master. So in most Buddhist texts, when they say Dharmakirti, they are referring to that Indian master. And so then to distinguish this Dharmakirti, often we say Drigung Dharmakirti. So also then Drigung Dharmakirti, Dharmakirti is Sanskrit, in Tibetan is Chukyi Drakpa. So to the left is Chukyi Drakpa, also in the form of a bhikshu with the 3 robes, and he is the emanation of Manjushri. Manjushri. Then in terms of like a human, just as Koncharatna, a human predecessor, so to say, was given, which is Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva Shantarakshita, right? In the case of Chungsang, Kyabgon Chungsang, Chukyi Drakpa, Saraha. Saraha was an Indian Mahasiddha. Right? And Saraha did not come to Tibet. Saraha was an Indian Mahasiddha, said to be the teacher of Nagarjuna. Saraha. Saraha is the arrow maker. So he's often depicted, like making arrows. Which is considered, right, not skillful livelihood because he's making weapons. But we don't know historically if literally he was an arrow maker, because arrow also has a symbolism of like killing, right? And killing what? Killing the delusion of I. So anyway, he was called the arrow maker, Saraha. And he's holding a vajra and bell and a text and a sword on lotuses. So here he has 4 things to hold. So definitely you need some lotuses. So the way this can be depicted, of course, bell left hand, vajra right hand. So bell and vajra like this. Then again, coming out are 2 lotus stalks, whereby sword is on here and text is over here. So Manjushris, how Manjushri is often depicted, is to have a sword and the text. But here also Vajra and bell. So also this Vajra and bell can be held this way. Then lotus is coming up. Yeah. So both of them are wearing, again, this gomsha. And here it symbolizes the gomsha changelessness. So and what is the changeless? Emptiness nature is changeless. And they are like, all these three are like reflections of the one moon dancing on many waters. The illusory, fleeting quality. And they are surrounded or accompanied by the 85 Mahasiddhas, the accomplished masters of India. Often you read the name 84 Mahasiddhas, but here this text has it as 85. And sometimes in some texts you come across 80 Mahasiddhas. And then when you start counting all the names, you end up with more than 80 or 84 or 85. And an ocean of Kagyu Siddhas. So the accomplished ones. Siddhas means those who have accomplished the path. In Kyopa Jikten Sumgon's collected teachings, he often contrasts Siddhas with great meditators, Gomchen, and Druptop. So when he uses these two terms together, then he is talking about those who have the appearance of being great practitioners, but don't have realization. So they are called the great meditators. So it's like a term he uses to tease and to point out, meditation is not an end unto itself. You can very much look the part of being a Dharma practitioner, but if you don't change your mind, if you don't change your heart, if the mental defilements are not being cleared, removed, then you are a great meditator, a gomchen, but not very useful until you have become a druptop, the one who has obtained the results. And gathered in the main and intermediate directions like immeasurable clouds, surrounded by these clouds. Then using the 4 syllables of Da, Hong, Bam, Ho, the wisdom beings are being called to dissolve into the visualization, both in front and ourselves actually. If this sadhana was more detailed, between the end on page 10 and the start of page 11, it will say what? Anybody? See how familiar you are with sadhanas. Between the end of 10 and the beginning of 11, what else might be provided there?
Offering.
Nope. Offering would come usually after Ja Hong Bam Ho, after the wisdom beings have been invited and dissolved, and then offerings. What might be in between, gathered in the main and intermediate directions like 4 immeasurable clouds? What might be inserted there before Da Hong Bam Ho?
the lights come out from the,
Yes.
inviting the
Muy bien.
Nasapas and
Then it will have a section describing in the three places of all those visualized are the three syllables Ahong. And from Ahong, lights go out to invite the wisdom beings. Then Hong Bang Ho. Yeah. Hong Bang Ho invites, brings now the wisdom beings and dissolve. Then after dissolving the wisdom beings into the visualization, both here and there, then again, as if you want to elaborate, we'll be making the 8 offerings. But that is done on page 12 with the 7-fold puja. On page 12 up to the beginning of 13. But what you might insert there further, if this was a longer sadhana, is after the wisdom beings dissolve, then what? You could also invite now the empowerment, the 5 Buddha families, the 3 sets, the male and female Buddhas, the male and female Bodhisattvas, the male and female wrathful beings, wrathful Buddhas. These are called the 3 circles. So then again, now light goes out from the heart, usually not from the 3 places, but light goes out from the heart, inviting the 3 sets of deities to now come give empowerment. And sometimes after inviting the empowerment deities, before the empowerment deities give empowerment, you make offerings to them. And after you've given them offerings, then you request empowerment. Then they, the female Buddhas holding the vases, pouring the empowerment water into the heads, which then enter into the bodies. As the female Buddhas are doing that, the male Buddhas are using their minds, it says, to empower. And then the male and female Bodhisattvas are singing songs, and the gods and goddesses are throwing flowers and saffron and playing music. And then the male and female wrathful deities, are doing the work of protecting and securing this whole place against, obstacles arising, chiefly the obstacle of distraction, meaning they jam your Wi-Fi signals, That's the protection we need these days. Sorry, no signal. That is protection. Yeah, so this is, so we have reached page 11. So today for our practice, we will end here, doing a quick bodhicitta dedication. Then we continue tomorrow. Changchu Semcho Rinpoche Ma ge ba nam ge gyu je ge ba nyam ba me ba yang gong ne gong du be wer shou. Okay, ta-ta.
Thank you, Papa.
Thank you, Dr. Lai. Thank you.
Gracias.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.